Hello everyone. I have been trying to make this video for the longest time, and anytime I try to make it, I put Eva to sleep and then like an hour and a half goes by and I'm like just finishing my makeup or just finishing my hair, and it just, an hour and a half just goes by so quickly. And so she's with me right now. My camera is on her little like play set, so she might want to take my camera. She loves the camera anyways, so she might try to steal it. We'll see. But I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into this video so we can get it done because I have a ton of notes. I've been breastfeeding for a year, well 13 months now, because she just turned 13 months like 3 or 4 days ago, whenever the 15th was. And so yeah, so I've been breastfeeding for 3 months. She's pressing on her little piano if you can't hear it. I'm glad it's not on. So yeah, it's just been a long journey of so many different things. And yes, can I have that? Thanks. You can have it if you want. So yeah, just gonna jump on into it. Let me get all my notes. I have like my notes. I have so many notes. And hopefully I can stay focused on what I need to say. Okay, so to start, before I even had her, come here. You want to sit with me? Before I even had her, this is, I don't know how common it is that this happens, but I was actually leaking colostrum, which is the before breast milk. It's like the liquid gold that everybody refers to, and it's the thing that the baby gets before the breast milk. Hi, you want to sit with me? You want to sit down? So I was actually leaking colostrum before I even gave birth to her. And I don't know how common that is, but I'm pretty sure I know how it happened. So kind of quick story. I was cleaning out the downstairs with my mom. We were just kind of like getting stuff ready and organizing and stuff. And all of a sudden I saw a huge spider, like she was picking something up. The huge spider crawled up her arm and I screamed, and she like threw it and the thing dropped and just a whole bunch of stuff. They can't even focus on what I'm saying right now because you're so cute. Anyways, I screamed so loud, and right after I screamed like 5 minutes, I started noticing that I was wet, and I had a cup, and so I was like, that's weird, maybe it was the condensation. Like I said that in my head. And then all of a sudden my other one started leaking, and the cup wasn't near that breast, and so I was like, this, I don't think. And then immediately my brain was like, you're leaking breast milk. The milk is coming out of your boobs. And I like didn't comprehend that, and I like told my mom, and I was like, I was telling her this thought process that I was having in my head of, I'm pretty sure breast milk is coming out of my boobs. And she was like, yeah, that does happen. And I was like, what? And I just was, in that moment, I like quickly switched from I'm a normal human to I am a birthing mammal like animal with boobs that produce milk. And it just like was mind-blowing to me, and from that moment on it just started the fact that I'm a mom. Yes, you were in the middle of this video. Oh, and then also, so this started at like 6 or 7 months that I started leaking colostrum. So like every now and then I would leak colostrum as a pregnant woman who wasn't even about to give birth. Like this was early on in my pregnancy. And I even remember like, so I gave birth to her in December. In October, we were already joking about me being the leaky cauldron for Halloween. So it was just very interesting that I was doing that. Mr. Bear, he's right here. The lighting's probably gonna keep changing because me and then Eva and then me. Okay, so anyway, so going into birth, I gave birth to her. She breastfed like almost immediately after that. You know, they give you that time. And then actually while I was in the hospital, Eva Grace, let's see how much of a video I can make constantly changing positions. Okay, gave her some crackers. We'll see if that works. So while I was in the hospital, 2 lactation consultants actually came in, and before I even went to my hospital room, I remember asking my nurse, like, people say like to breastfeed on both sides, like what is your recommendation? And she actually told me to just breastfeed on one side. And this actually turned out to be a good thing for me because I overproduced, which I'll talk about. And so I had so much milk on this side and so much milk on this side. So just using one breast was beneficial for me. And then, yeah, I'll talk more about that. But she actually told me that. And then 2 lactation consultants came in and they helped me with breastfeeding. And one of the funny things that I did while I was first breastfeeding her is I was like rocking her like this because she was kind of crying, and I was like shh shh shh, you know, and I was like rocking her on my boob, and the lactation consultant was like, you probably shouldn't do that because, you know, if you think about it, when you're eating, you don't want someone like shaking you. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. But in my head I was like, you rock a baby when they're crying. And so yeah, it was just kind of funny. But I remember the first one came in and showed me how to breastfeed her, and to have like, they need to have like a really open mouth, and they need to have like this lip down and then this lip up and then like latch onto your nipple boob areola part. And so that was helpful. Yes, so that was helpful for the first lactation consultant to tell me that. The second thing that the second one told me, so they both gave me such helpful like feedback. The second one, which was life-changing, if you are struggling with like, how much is my baby getting? Are they getting enough colostrum? Like all of these questions. One thing that she told me was you, just gonna get up like this, was you put a spoon up to your nipple. I wish I had a spoon, but that probably would be even weirder. Put a spoon up to your nipple and like squeeze out your colostrum so you see the actual colostrum on the spoon. And they usually only get like a tablespoon of colostrum when they're first born, and so it's like perfect amount. If they like drink all of the colostrum on the spoon, they got enough milk. And so it's just kind of bizarre because when you think about like one spoonful of colostrum, you're like, my baby couldn't have had enough, like they need more, but their baby, they don't need that much. And so the lactation consultant explaining that to me was so helpful for me to not have so much anxiety about how much is my baby getting. And we actually, my mom reminded me when we got home to do that because I, again, wasn't sure. So we did it, she ate it all, and like my body was doing what it needed to do. And so again, it just like helped with anxiety so much. So where am I at? Okay, so then a few weeks after or a few days after I came home, I had already scheduled a lactation appointment just to make sure that like what I was doing the first few days was okay. She was getting enough milk. Her weight was doing well, like a whole bunch of things. This lighting is so bad. Also, we're like working on a project, if you don't follow me on Instagram over here, so ignore all that. So I went to a lactation consultant because one, like I said, I had an oversupply, which I didn't know yet. I had only Googled that because Eva, for most newborns, they take like maybe an hour, 45 minutes to eat. Eva was like rocket fast. She was like maybe 30 minutes, probably 20. She was like extremely fast. And I was like, there's no way she's getting that much milk in 20 to 30 minutes. And she also didn't have reflux, which I heard was a oversupply thing, but she did like kind of choke sometimes, or she would like cough because it was coming out so fast. Oh, so I had oversupply and heavy letdown. That's what I had, a heavy letdown, so it went super fast. So I just had like a whole bunch of questions, and so we went to a lactation consultant to see you know, what was going on, because I didn't want her to choke. I didn't know if she was getting enough to eat, and just all the questions that I had, you know, in my head. So we ended up going to the lactation consultant. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, they like squeeze your boob, make sure that the latch is in there properly. I also was like my nipple was starting to hurt, but it wasn't at the point of like, oh, my nipples hurt so bad. It was just kind of like my boobs were getting used to her eating. And so I wanted to make sure I was doing that right. So we practiced latching at the lactation place. And then also she timed how fast she ate. And she checked her weight before and after the feeding so that she would know how many ounces that Eva got. Are you petting brother? Yeah. So within, I think it was actually, now that I think about it, only 15 minutes of Eva eating on one boob, she got enough milk like that. So Eva was a really, really fast eater. And I like had to confirm. I was like, are you sure she's getting enough? And she was like, it was 15 minutes. She got, I think, however much it was, 4 ounces or 2 or 3 ounces. And she seems full. Try putting her on the other one and see what she does. Eva didn't want any milk. She was already done, and it was crazy. So so that was so helpful to go to a lactation consultant. And also, one thing I did want to add, I'm like talking so fast because I want to get as much information to you guys without this being like a million years long. One thing that I will say that I learned as a breastfeeding mom is your nipples are not supposed to hurt at all. My nipples have, this is weird to say, but my nipples have never hurt while breastfeeding her for 13 months. Like I said, they were starting to hurt. They were starting to get the like sore, like, this is weird. Someone is like biting on your boob. You want to come with me? Oh, you want more? But they never like cracked. I never ever had to put nipple cream on them. I had recently learned that that's not supposed to happen, because if your baby has a bad latch, that's what causes nipple pain. If your baby has a good latch, then you will never have nipple pain. Because I had 3 different lactation consultants, I never had nipple pain. And so people would always talk about that, and I was like, I can't be the only one who's never had nipple pain. But it really is. They have to have a really good latch. And also Eva ate super fast, so that might be a thing. Okay, so I think that was it for that. Oh, she also did have a tongue tie. This thing is sitting really up high. She had a tongue tie. I feel like I'm looking up at the camera. But because she ate so fast, that didn't hinder her ability to eat. And down the road, we just checked, I think recently, that her tongue tie, or her tongue, like whatever that thing is, ended up stretching out, so it didn't become a problem. But she did have that at first. Okay, so then on the 3rd day, my milk came, and I remember like it's a really like full feeling that you have, because you, like for me, I never knew what it would feel like to just have my milk come in. But one day, like my boobs were just like solid, like rock solid. And I remember telling my mom, like, my boobs look huge. And she was like, that means your milk came in. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I remember having to like kind of squeeze them out. Another thing is I never had mastitis or any other thing that, like, you know, you kind of struggle with in the boob area. I never had that. I never had like mastitis or anything. I think it was because I always like, but I always like massage my breasts, and I always do this to my underarms, just like casually I do this where I'm like massaging myself. And because I had an oversupply, I was always like this to my boobs and like massaging them and stuff. I never let it get out of control or anything. And you're supposed to like massage your lymph nodes to drain the excess something. And also supposed to press down to allow your milk to just like keep flowing and break fat up and stuff. I really don't know the like technical part of it, but I just did that casually, and so I think that that's kind of why it helped. I don't know that for a fact, but I did do that. So yeah, my milk came in on the 3rd day. And then also something that I'll talk about later on is I never had a letdown, or I did have a letdown, but I could never feel my letdown because I always had milk in my boobs. Because I was an oversupplier, there was never a like Eva would suck and I would feel the letdown. It would just be like milk was already in there, which was bizarre. But I'll talk more about like when I felt my letdown and stuff later. To talk about like my oversupply a little bit. I did have an oversupply, and what I did with that is I had the Haka, and I should have brought it over here, but basically it's like this cup that you like fold the top, you suction to your boob, and then you like flap it to where it like sucks on. And I actually didn't suck it on. I actually didn't like put it on whenever I was first feeding her, because I had heard that if you like suction it on, it's almost like the baby is eating or you're pumping, and I didn't want to continue to oversupply. So I would actually just like hold it there while I was feeding her on this side, and your boob just naturally, because of the pressure, just naturally lets out milk, even if there's no milk, even if you're not pumping or anything, especially when you're an oversupplier. So milk would just like flow out of my boob, and I would get like 4 or 5 ounces just from this one boob that she wasn't even feeding on. Thank you. And so, but the Haka was a lifesaver, because I would just hold it on there, get the 4 to 5 ounces, and then either put it in the freezer or put it in a bottle for someone else to feed her, because I had family there for 2 weeks. Here for 2 weeks, and then my mom was here for a month. So if they ever wanted to feed her, they had that extra milk, and then I could manually squeeze into a Haka or whatever. I also didn't have a pump. I've never had a like pump actually, other than the LV, and I got the LV when she was 3 months. I don't know why I'm eating these. They're just here. For the most part, I tried to save her milk instead of doing the like hand expressing, because with hand expressing, your boobs don't know that the baby is getting milk, which I didn't know that at the time. And also you can't like fully get all of the milk out. Okay, so yeah, so I didn't ever pump until 3 months, and then I got the LV, and maybe I should scoot back so my head's not cut off. Probably around 2-ish months, my my supply started like kind of regulating. I still had a fast letdown, and I think I had a fast letdown for like a majority, probably until 6 months, when she started kind of like not feeding as much. But my letdown has always been fast. So my oversupply, I think, started to regulate, especially when she started sleeping through the night, and she started sleeping through the night at 3 months. And let me just tell you, like, as a first-time mom, you don't know all the answers unless you like Google it beforehand, or you just happen to see it beforehand, or someone tells you. And for me, I didn't know you were supposed to like casually wean throughout the night or pump throughout the night, because they're starting to sleep longer and things like that. So she went from like, she was taking longer stretches, but one day she just started like sleeping through the night automatically, and I never pumped. I woke up and I was like engorged, and so I like squeezed some into the Haka and just kind of like manually, and then went back to bed. And then the next day I think I was fine, but like I could have gotten mastitis or something. I could have like, something could have happened to my boobs where like I was in so much pain, but I was like, oh, I'm in a little bit of pain and I'm leaking, squirt squirt, I'm gonna go back to bed. I don't know why. I was just like, because I just didn't know what I needed to do. And so yeah, you just don't know, but you're supposed to like help your boobs regulate by not by like pumping a little bit out, and not just like squirting to getting stuff out. So now that I'm thinking about it, I did wear nursing pads probably until like 6 or 7 months, and then I wasn't leaking anymore, and I wore a bra every single night to bed because I didn't want to leak on the bed, because I would always leak on the bed when I woke up and I needed her to like eat right away. And sometimes I would like squirt some out, because I would like, I wouldn't be engorged, but I would be full to the point of like, if I just pressed on it, milk would just squirt out. I don't know if I explained all of that correctly, but I was just really bad at the like whole night process of like getting up and pumping, and like I just love my sleep, and so I wouldn't ever like pump or anything. I would just wait until the morning to like squeeze some out and then give it to her. Oh, and I'm just like kind of going all over the place, because I like am thinking of stuff that I don't know if I wrote down. But around 4 months, because she started sleeping through the night at 3 months, around 4 months I got my period back. She's just eating those crackers. I got my period back, and so when you get your period, for the most part, from everyone that I've talked to, this has happened. When you get your period back, your supply actually like tanks. So I was an oversupplier. I had a heavy letdown. My supply was tanking, and so for like a week or two I had a low supply, and that's kind of where my pumping with the LV and my excess milk came in handy, because I never knew how much she was getting. I never knew if she was getting enough, and so I would give her like an ounce or two extra throughout the day, and I would usually give her 1 or 2 ounces during the day, and then after I breastfed her at night, I would like top her off with 1 ounce or 2. And this started around 2 or 3 months, or this started around 3 or 4 months. And what was my point in that? Maybe that I just got my period and my supply tanked for like a week or 2. And then, oh, and I would pump an extra during the night. The first time that this happened, I actually didn't know it was happening. So that I really would do this probably around like 4 months or 5 months, because I think I actually got my period within her 3-month mark. Anyways, the timeline is blurry, but I would do this. The first time this happened, I didn't know, and she would actually like cry and cry and cry on my boob, and I would like try to put her back on, and she would suck, but she would like pop off, and I would try to get her back to this one. She would like suck, cry, pop off, and I didn't know what was wrong. I was like, are you getting enough milk? Do you need more milk? Like, why is my body not producing, you know, the milk that you need, when I was just an oversupplier? And so in my head, I didn't understand, because I was supplying so much milk and giving her so much milk, and now it was at the point where I was like not giving her enough milk. And so at 3 months, I'm only like a 3-month baby's mom, and I just didn't comprehend, like, how am I not giving you enough milk right now? Why are you crying? And so at 3 months, it was really stressful for me to figure out what is going on. Why is my supply tanking? And I guess I just was like researching, and I happened upon the fact that when you are on your period, your supply tanks, and that was really hard for me, because then I started Googling, like, what do I need to do? Do I need to drink water? Do I need to try supplements? Do I need to, you know, eat booby food or whatever, you know? And I would try to do all those things, but ultimately, like, when you're on your period, your supply is going to tank, and you could try everything, but most likely it's not going to go back up until your period ends. And so what I ended up doing is the extra bags of milk that I would pump at night and then give her throughout the day. So that portion was like really, really stressful for me, and I was like, okay, I'm a very positive person, as you guys know, and so I would like have my breakdowns, but I was like instantly turned towards, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And so I always try to figure out a solution in my head to be like, it's gonna be okay, like, this is what we're gonna do. And I had occasional breakdowns, but I feel like I was just like, we're gonna keep doing this. If this is like just once a week or like a week and a half, you know, we can get through it, and it's gonna be great. And a part of me was almost like, every time I would say that, I would kind of be nervous saying that, because I was like, how am I gonna do this for, if she was like 5 months, like 7 more months? How am I mentally gonna do this 7 more months? But I'll talk about that in a second. So that was really stressful for me, to get like my period at like 3-4 months and have her go through that. Oh, also one thing that I would forget to do, so like I talked about, like, if you are, I guess this maybe happens to everyone, maybe it's not an oversupply thing, but if you are only feeding on one side, you need to make sure you have a haka on this other side, because you want more? Because milk's going to flow, and if you don't have a haka to catch it, you either need to have a towel, which is kind of a waste of milk, in my opinion. Like, you know, that's like liquid gold, and it's a waste of milk. Or something that I would always forget to do is put those things there, and then her onesie would be soaking wet, and I would come out of the room, because my mom would be here, and I'd be like, Mom, I gotta change her. I felt so defeated, because I was like, my milk, all of my milk just got all over her body, and I just felt bad. So yeah, make sure you have something there so that your milk doesn't get all over everyone. Yes, is this the Eva show? Yeah. Okay, gonna move this. Maybe I'll just hold you right here. Oh, one thing that I forgot to say was that when Eva was born, she was slightly jaundiced, and they didn't know that until her first appointment, which is always like 2 or 3 days after your after you give birth. And so they didn't know she was jaundiced, and then they checked her levels, and she was like really slightly jaundiced, not even a whole lot. But what I had to do to like help the jaundice, you know, get out of her system was I had to breastfeed her every 2 hours. And your milk like pushes out the bilirubin, I think, or something like that. And then, what are you doing? She's spitting out her cracker onto the floor. This video is great. So we had to do that every 2 hours, and that like really created a really good schedule for us, because I was never like a schedule person, and so I would feed her, we would like keep her awake a little bit and play with her, and then she would fall asleep, and then she would wake up, or we would wake her up, and then I would feed her. And so just like every 2 hours we would do that, and kind of like, and it was a lot, I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot, but I quickly learned that I am the type of person that loved breastfeeding. Like, I loved spending time with her. I loved having her close to me. I loved giving her something that she needed, and that I was the only person in the world who could provide that for her. Like, I just absolutely loved breastfeeding, and from that point I was like, I think I'm gonna breastfeed for a really long time, or I'm gonna try to, because it was just like the greatest thing in the world for me. Even though it was 2 hours, and you guys know, again, I'm a very optimistic person. So for me, 2 hours wasn't like stressful. It was just like, I kind of turned it to be like, this is the most beautiful thing that I get to spend with her. And because my family was here, they got a lot of time with her. And so I knew every 2 hours, it was just gonna be me and her. Like, me and her by ourselves in a room, cuddling and close, and I just loved it. So, okay, so next note that I have, my notes are all over the place, is that one of the also reasons that I wanted to breastfeed, even like, so at that 3-month mark was kind of like, this is getting really stressful, and she's crying at the boob and my period and all of the stuff. One thing that really kept me going, I think, one, you know, I did love it and I did want to continue to do it, but COVID had just started, and so I was like, oh my gosh. And then like science came out, the fact that like you are able to help your baby, you're providing immunity for your baby. There's like antibodies even within like the COVID antibodies, if your baby were to get it or something, and how that would protect them. And so the immunity part was really, like, for me, it was strong, because I have such a strong immune system. And so it was like, I want to give her the best chance that she can have at immunity and building up her immune system. And so for me personally, that was like, okay, I want to keep breastfeeding her. I can do this. I can do this. And I almost considered going back to a lactation consultant with like my whole period thing and like figuring out what I could do, but I ended up just kind of like looking online, and there's so many great online resources today about breastfeeding. I can't really name them right now, but I'll have them in the comments. kellymom.com is a really good one at the top of my head. Milky Mama on Instagram, I believe. Yeah, just like a whole bunch of resources that there are. And so I just like kept going. I kept trying to figure out what can I do. Another thing that I kind of did to try to like boost my supply was matcha bites, and those are delicious. And I also have a protein powder from them, and I tried to like boost my supply that way. I honestly don't know if it worked, because again, like, I had a lot of milk and then it tanked because of period, and I don't honestly think it ever got back to the place that it used to be with oversupply. And so I think that that's why I kind of try to use the matcha bites and the protein powder to like kind of build it back up. But once my period came, I just feel like it was never the same. But matcha bites are really good, and so they may have helped a little bit. Regardless, they are yummy. But yeah, so I did try that. One thing that I will note is we hated the bobby. The bobby was really great for her to like lounge and be in, but specifically for like breastfeeding, she's right below. I like couldn't keep it on because I would like put it on and then it would like slowly slide out, and yeah, it just like never really worked the way that it was supposed to work, I think. Doing laundry right there. So yeah, so I'm just moving everywhere because she's trying to get to this camera. So yeah, didn't like the boppy. And then another thing that I wanted to say is that the first few weeks of breastfeeding can be really stressful, and it can be really stressful on your marriage or on your relationship. And having a baby in general can be stressful on your relationship. But one thing that me and Connor did to like partner together was at night, he would wake up and change Eva, and then he would pass her to me and I would feed her, and he would go back to sleep while I fed her. So what he did wasn't like super like time consuming or anything, but it really took a lot off of my shoulders of having to get up and change her and then breastfeed her while he sleeps. Because I know for me, I would be like, why aren't you helping me? You need to be awake too, you know, and things like that. And so I was like, and so this was really helpful that he helped me in that way. So that was another thing. Yes, do you want more crackers? You're making a hot mess over there, all for the sake of this video. Gosh.